following is a presentation of WLCN 96.3 FM and WLCNonline.com. This live video stream is made possible in part by WLCN's live stream technology sponsor, Me Realty, located at 602 Keokuk Street in Lincoln, and online at merealty.com.
Welcome to Viewpoint on 96.3 FM WLCN on this beautiful spring May day. Thank you for tuning in, folks. Phone lines are open, 217-648-5510. We have a repeat guest, I guess you could say. Jeff, you wear so many hats.
Yeah, Different hat today.
Different hat. Yes. Jeff Hake he's representing Corps of McLean, and welcome. Thanks for coming back. We really appreciate it.
It's good to be back.
Yeah. What is Corps exactly? What's the history behind Corps?
Yeah, so I'm the vice president of Corps of McLean. Corps was started before I ever even moved to Illinois, as you know. I'm from a ways away. So there's a program out of the Western Illinois University called the Mapping Program, and mapping is some big long acronym. I can't remember what it stands for, but the program is meant to go to small towns all across the state and gather their communities for these multi-day community planning meetings, and they talk about how, like, what does everyone in the community really want? What are some things that we could do to develop our economy, to bring people in, to bring new residents, new visitors, all that kind of thing. And so the mapping program came to McLean in, I think it was 2010, and that meeting spurred the eventual founding of Corps of McLean, which became an official nonprofit in 2012. My wife, Katie Funk, has been involved with Corps of McLean for most of that, almost that entire time, I think, and then became president 10 years ago, I think, and has been in that position ever since. So we met in 2016, and now I've become the vice president of Corps of McLean. But then in 2023, the mapping program, like I said, they do this in villages and small towns all across the state. They'll also do like basically a redo, or come back and like see the progress on the projects that were talked about in 2010, and what are some new visions and hopes for these places. And so they came back in 2023, and that actually spurred a lot of growth for our organization.
Do they offer resources or a sounding board for
Yes.
you guys then as well? They just don't come in and leave you then?
Right.
Or, okay.
Yeah, so once you're a mapping program, they're an ongoing resource for you. So if you need help tracking down funding for a program or for an event, they will help you track that down. Sometimes they can give you direct access to that funding if there's the right resource that they have available to them. A sounding board can be a really helpful thing. Like, we're having this problem with this, certain sector of our village or whatever, or we can't figure out how to navigate this particular local ordinance or county ordinance or something like that. They've been really helpful to us.
Not to put you on a spot, but if we do have some listeners, from other towns listening and did not know about MAP, are they taking on Western's other towns to help as well or not? Not to put you on the spot. I didn't mean to.
I don't totally know. I would bet that they are. They'd at least be up for a conversation. Giselle Ham has been our point of contact there, and she's always really on the spot of like responding to our asks for anything that we need, like you said, a sounding board. And I think those mapping like programs they do where they have those community meetings are kind of a big undertaking, so I don't know if they're doing those.
But if they need to find out more information, they can reach out to you or your wife.
Absolutely.
Then, and you can direct them the proper way.
We'd love to direct them to Giselle and all the folks at the mapping program.
Neat.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. But you said they came back in 2023 and they're pretty pleased then, or was that more like a revitalization for the community?
It's a revitalization. I mean, it's not their place to like judge how we've done as a community or whatever.
Right.
It's just helping us assess, like, we had these goals back 13 years ago. Are those goals still, were they reached? Are they still viable? Has the community changed in any way? And so in 2023, we came up with we did see that there were some, we did accomplish some of those goals. We brought recycling to McLean. We founded our community group and, formed an organization. That was a big deal because it didn't have that. There were other community organizations, but Corps didn't exist at that time. And yeah, I mean, and then we established a whole bunch of new goals. And so that was the community garden that we've talked about was one of those. And I'm forgetting some other things that we've done.
But it sounds like it's a longevity program that Western's offering then. It's not just we're here for a couple of years and it phases out then.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and Corps kind of just was going along doing its thing for a long time. And eventually we saw it as an opportunity for mapping to come back and do that assessment. Sometimes they'll come back more frequently than 13 years later.
Right.
But it was a really good chance to like step back, think about what we're doing, and also have someone else initiate that process. Us trying to do a self-assessment is just, we'd rather just keep doing the work, you know.
Right.
Having someone come from outside and look at our community and help us assess ourselves is really helpful.
Neat. So I read online that you guys McLean needed a new water tower. Mm-hmm. So kind of explain how that has taken place and formed as well with CORE.
Yeah, so the initial part of this was not anything to do with CORE directly. It was just that the village did need a higher capacity water tower. So the one that they had was built in, I think, 1934 or 33 and 34. And is still could be a functional water tower. You know, the one in Waynesville is the exact same kind of water tower that we decommissioned. It just wasn't big enough. The village was growing. The fire protection district needed better access to water, and so they built a bigger one. It's that kind of deep blue one that you see coming down 66. So they decommissioned the old one in 2017, and then it just stood there. And so when that happened, CORE saw that as an opportunity to maybe do something interesting with it as a tourism attraction. And the first thing we did actually was, just with cooperation with the village, kind of a handshake agreement. We asked, can we establish a park under that water tower? And they said yes. And so they poured a concrete pad under there. We got some landscaping plans. We planted a bunch of native pollinator plants under that, working with Penn Landscaping up in Bloomington. And they and then it put some furniture there and all that kind of stuff, and so it's just a nice little park, and you're under this, you know, enormous water tower in the middle of our village. But then in 2023, we had a new village board, and we were still trying to, you know, come up with this plan in cooperation with the village of how we would, you know, paint a mural on the water tower and make it kind of a unique attraction. I mean, it works for Atlanta, right? They have the big smiley face up there, and that's a certain thing that people look for. They're traveling Route 66. I mean, McLean is right on the route, and we do have the Dixie restaurant and we do have the arcades, but we don't do a great job of fully capturing the value of all of those people coming through. People go from, you know, the maple syrup shop through McLean and down to Atlanta, and they might stop in McLean, but we're not doing a good job of making them feel welcome and giving them a lot to do. And this, I'm not saying that the water tower is going to, like, now we've done it. It's like it's one of many things that could help, and it's an ongoing effort to get people.
Anything will, you know, and it's a constant, you know, billboard, basically, what you say, attraction of something to look for as I'm driving down, you know, 55 and get off and come, and or old 66.
Yeah, it takes almost anything to get people to just stop for a little while and be like, oh, McLean's a cool place. I should maybe spend a little more time here. Then the tourism money kind of spreads out. And that tourism money then helps, you know, raise up the whole village, and then more people want to move there to, you know, be a part of it. It's a good bedroom community for Bloomington. McLean's beautiful. Like, I love living there. It's just like tree-lined streets. It's real quiet. It's real safe. I mean, it's a town worth being a part of. So anyway, we the new village board in 2023, there were voices on that board that wanted to take the old water tower down, and we were like, no, wait, give us a chance to, you know, we're gonna come up with a formal plan, because apparently you're gonna be rushing us on this, so, like, we'll tell you exactly what we'd like to do, and then hopefully you'll work with us. So we came up with a plan, we presented it, and they were basically like, no, we're gonna take the water tower down at a cost of $34,000. And we're like, no. Like, we don't want to spend that much money on something that is removing an asset from our community. There's no purpose for it. And we found that it's structurally sound. Like, if we had a structural engineer come out, he's like, basically, if a storm comes through here, this is like the last thing that's going to be standing. Like, this water tower, because it was overbuilt back in the 30s. Yeah. Metal was relatively cheap, and they were just like, this overdid it. So that thing is solid. So we went through this whole battle. And eventually what wound up happening is that our CORE of McLean bought the water tower and the ground under it for $1 from the village.
Wonderful.
It got valuated at negative $34,000. So that was interesting. But I mean, we see the value in it. And so we're working right now on, we're hoping sometime next month actually, is that they'll start working on putting a fresh coat of paint on the whole thing, which is not cheap. That like a really good paint job on something that large. It's going to cost a lot, but we're raising funding for that. And then hopefully we'll get started on the mural by the time of the run walk in August.
So truly you're reinvesting into the community to highlight the community, to bring tourism.
And this is one of many things that we do. We try to do things for tourists. We try to do things for locals. And so sometimes that looks like we just do a chili cook-off every year. We hold bingo nights every month over the winter. And then we're talking about doing some summer bingo. We're not a tourism organization. We're just trying to make it a nice place to be for anyone who would want to spend time there.
But for our listeners who, and like I said, living here in the community, we take for granted. A lot of us do. I mean, being one of them. Take for granted, what do we actually have to offer here in our area, from Shirley down to Williamsville. So tell our listeners, it's kind of neat, highlighting Funk's Grove, the maple syrup shop. You have tourists from all over throughout the year, not just from the United States, but from out of the country. So our listeners, really kind of get it. Hey, this is really happening. These people are actually stopping in our area. So tell our listeners about where your tour, people come to shop there.
I always tell people, if you come to the shop, right when you come in the door, if you come in the door of the Funk's Grove Pure Maple Syrup Shop, right next to the door, there's a guest book, and people will sign it when they come through. And it is just country after country after country that you wouldn't expect from every continent but Antarctica. I mean, might get some penguins. I don't know. See a model in the door. And it is just wild that people come from all the world to see us. And they're not, some of them are stopping, they're like, what's this here? But other people are like, oh, I saw this in a brochure. And it's like, a brochure from Thailand? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And it is, and that's something that's really worth capturing and celebrating, is that, people are starting in Chicago and they're driving all the way to California and enjoying America along the way. And our communities are a part of that. And there's a lot to there's a lot to celebrate in all that. And it doesn't just need to be the maple syrup shop. I mean, I'll vouch for the maple syrup shop. I know it's cool. And it's a delicious thing, and you don't get that.
But
in a lot of
nonetheless,
places.
you do have the proof, and the proof in the pudding for years that people do come to Central Illinois and do stop.
We literally have decades of those guest books of showing people from all over the world coming to see us. Yeah.
And it's throughout the whole year too, isn't it?
I mean, the summer tourism season is especially starting right about now, pretty much. School starts getting out, people start traveling for the summer. I mean, it's there's a lot to capture just in those 6 or so months of tourism season. And then local people, sometimes because the route can get kind of crowded in a certain way, people who are more local will do parts of the route on the off times of the year. So, yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, some of those Facebook groups, people are starting from Chicago and they only go so far, maybe into Missouri, and then the following year they continue on from where they left off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people doing little parts of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't imagine affording the time to do the whole route, even if you do it fast in 2 weeks. No, I don't know how. So I can imagine myself though, we did from here to Pontiac, and then we'll do Pontiac to Chicago some other time and piece it all together. Yeah, it's a real opportunity for all kinds of people coming through our communities, and you might not even notice them coming through unless they bring their fancy cars, and then you notice them coming through.
There's also been some folks on motorcycles, big groups like that who are during the summer. It's nice to stop. And
so I'm here talking to you all. I'm kind of a bit of an extrovert, and I've become the person who's doing all the tours of the syrup shop, taking over from my mother-in-law, who likes doing them, but she's happy to have someone else do them as well. And there's a group of Italian motorcyclists. There's these 2 guys who are Italian motorcycle guides, and so they bring folks over from Italy several times a year. And now I'm in direct contact with Domenico. He just writes to me directly and says, I'm bringing a group through in a few weeks. Will you be there? I'm like, sure. And then I have my Italian motorcycle friends.
That is neat.
But yeah, I mean, you get lots of big groups of folks on motorcycles too. It's really cool. And also just groups of you have a bunch of Jeep drivers or Mini Coopers. Was a whole, we had 50 of them at the shop. and they fit because they're small.
They're small.
We don't have a huge parking lot. They're just in a huge ring all around the shop. So yeah, it's fascinating to kind of.
So it's kind of an eye-opening too. When you're talking to, the government board, the village board there at McLean, saying, look, this is really happening. This still is going on. We need to capitalize on this too. So.
Yeah, and it's funny, even like with the water tower. Okay, it's like it's not the thing that's going to save us or anything, but like there's a Facebook group of historic water towers, and like it's got thousands of people on it. People love water towers. There's enthusiasts, and we can catch those folks coming through and be like, hey, look at this cool thing we did with this, and we can talk about like the vintage of our particular water tower. Who it was founded by? It was built by a team of locals back in the 30s because of Great Depression era programs. People will get excited about that.
You're preserving history.
Yeah, absolutely.
Preserving history.
Yeah, I mean, another 8 years, we can have like a centennial celebration for our water tower. So yeah, it's definitely preserving history. It's preserving a part of McLean.
Neat. Well, we're going to take a quick time out. When we get back, we're going to dive more into upcoming events there with CORE and the city of McLean. But first, a few commercial breaks.
Whether you're buying or selling your home, the brokers of Me Realty will work with you to get the deal done. As one of Central Illinois' top producing offices for decades, Me Realty has the experience to guide you through the process. You want results? Call the brokers of Me Realty at 217-735-5424, stop by the office at 602 Keokuk Street in Lincoln, or check out local listings online at merealty.com.
Culver's is a family restaurant. To me, that means being the place that puts a smile on everyone's face. We're famous for our cooked-to-order butter burgers and frozen custard made daily inside our restaurants. But we've always believed more menu options mean more ways to brighten your day. We source the finest chicken to bring you our tenders and chicken sandwiches. And our cheese curds. They're a Wisconsin tradition we're proud to share with you. So take the next meal shift off and let us take care of you. Welcome to Delicious.
Culver's, home of the Butterburger, 2530 Woodlawn Road in Lincoln. Full Gospel Evangelistic Center makes an impact locally and beyond through a wide range of events, ministries, and outreaches. Pastors Steve and Debbie Owens invite you to worship Sunday mornings at 10:30 and attend Wednesday night Bible studies at 6:30. Connect with FGEC online, follow them on Facebook, download their app, and visit their new website at myfgec.org with live YouTube video streams as well as recordings of services and special events. Full Gospel Evangelistic Center, 304 North McLean Street in Lincoln.
Hi, welcome back to Viewpoint on 96.3 FM WLCN. Again, phone lines are open, 217-648-5510. We have Jeff Hake from CORE in McLean, and you've got some special individuals that do help out the that are not paid. Obviously, volunteers. You've got one individual that you'd like to mention a special thank you to. Who would that be?
Yeah, so the background of this is that we're starting a community garden in McLean, and I can talk more about that, but I wanted to make sure I gave a few folks a shout out. We have a lot of great volunteers and a lot of really cool opportunities, but there's actually a local here right in Atlanta, Josh Pascal, and he works with Tyler Penn and Penn Landscaping, who's also been a great supporter of ours, and he just reached out to us and was like, I can help with that garden. And he has mowed for us when we needed it. And then he has just done 2 passes of tillage on our brand new community garden. So taking sod and getting it all the way down to a garden. And like we knew we needed to do that, but it was like, God, we got to figure out who has a tiller. And like, and he was just like, I'll just go over there and I'll drive my truck up there. And like, that's not a cheap service. He does do it as a service. Mm-hmm. So if anyone's listening and anyone's tillage services or mowing or whatever, that's Josh Pascal. We can put you in touch. But he never asked for anything. He just was happy to help. And like, that's what makes a community garden, right? Is people chipping in together and building community by just being in the same place together. So yeah, really appreciate him and a lot of other folks like that who
and I believe you had some oxen.
Yeah,
so
this was so wild. I love meeting new people and like learning new things, and you never know what's out there. So the idea for the community garden came out of those planning meetings I was talking about before that we had in 2023. And we discovered we had an opportunity. There's a piece of land. If you're coming down Route 66 and you're going, it kind of weaves a little just past McLean, and then it kind of hits a right turn. There's like a set of apartments there. Right next to that, Route 66 actually used to go straight through there. That's like an old alignment, and Route 66 enthusiasts love alignments. And so it used to go right through there. And for some reason, the state and the village split this lot in half the long way. So there's like, the village owns this long, narrow thing that they can't do anything with. So they're just mowing it all the time. So we were like, can we rent that from the village for our community garden? And they were like, sure. Like, then we don't have to mow it. You take care of it.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't say it that way, but like, it is an opportunity for them to like offload a little bit of work. And do something supportive for our community. And so we're renting that for $1 a year. We signed a 25-year lease, so we wrote a $25 check to the village, and we're good for 25 years. And so we got that. We started getting that established this year. We have a dozen people who signed up for plots already. Drew up plans. Had community meetings about just the garden. But then we had an opportunity. So I work for the Illinois Stewardship Alliance, and one of our members of the Illinois Stewardship Alliance is a woman named Ruth Burke. She's a professor of art at the Illinois State University. But a lot of her work that she does is where art and agriculture meet. And she would do a better job of explaining how oxen fit into that. But the point is that she has a team of oxen. Their names are Clark and Sparky, and they're kind of on the young side, so she's still learning how to work with them and all that kind of stuff. But I was like, we had talked for a while about her bringing that team out to our farm, and it never quite worked out. But I was like, do you want to do something even cooler of like help us get a community garden started? It's not a huge area, so it's not a huge undertaking for this young team that she has. And she was like, sure. So we turned it into an event. They came out 2 Sundays ago, and they plowed up the garden for us. I mean, and it's that ground has been really compacted for a while. So, Josh probably could have just tilled it, but it would have been a lot of work for him. And so getting something to, do the original plowing on it was really helpful. And so we had, I think, probably like 25 or 30 folks came out to watch. People hung out for like a couple hours just watching this team work.
Neat.
I was because you had to have one person driving the oxen and then one person behind the plow. And Ruth had me get behind the plow first. And it was something. I'm pretty agile and I'm strong enough, but it was like, you're just like
you're jerking everywhere.
Oh my gosh. It was really interesting, and I was happy that eventually her husband was actually able to come and take over. And like watching him do it was also like, okay, it is difficult. It's not just me. Because they're strong they're huge. I mean, they're so strong, and they just take off walking, and they're walking as you're running,
Right.
So it's just like trying to keep up with it. It was a really cool event. They got it all plowed up, and then Josh came immediately after it and tilled up the whole thing. And it was just a really great way to kick off our new community garden.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I like that. That's cool. what do you have for any questions?
Well, I just in marketing and doing things that I do here with the radio station, one thing that I often tell potential clients is marketing is a process, not a product. And so if you think you're going to do a radio commercial or create a Facebook page or whatever, and then all of a sudden you're going to have thousands and thousands of customers, that's probably got bigger things to do than that are going to help. So it sounds like your group is really taking on a multifaceted approach, and it's not just we're going to paint the water tower. And another thing I called is the field of dreams mentality of marketing, that if you build it, they will come.
Right.
And it is important that you build it, but then getting the word out and making sure people know about it obviously is just as important. It sounds like your group is really kind of spreading the wealth as far as getting the word out in different places and things like that. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's nice to hear. We do try to do a lot of different things that improve and revitalize our village in a lot of different ways. And that's, the water tower has been a big project, but the community garden is not, like I was saying, it's not for tourists. It might be like, oh, that's cute, but they're not going to have a plot because they're traveling. But then somewhere in between is we've done a lot of tree planting in the village. We have our Adopt-A-Pot program, so folks can, and actually today's the last day to become a sponsor of Adopt-A-Pot, so if any local businesses or just individuals want to adopt a pot, go to our website and you can find out more information about that. That's coreofmclean.org.
And that's where they paint pots and put them around the square?
It's so planting big flower pots on our square, and either we can, you can just write us a check and we'll plant it for you and put your name on a sign in the pot, or you can plant your own. The catch is that we do ask that you keep it watered, because watering all those pots through the summer for our volunteers is just asking too much of our volunteers at some point. But it's just it just makes the village look more friendly, and it kind of breaks up the concrete a little bit. But also there's that secondary thing that comes from doing all these things that is what makes it really exciting. So what I was saying just before we came back was that we have this water tower that we're working on bringing back to life. We have the park underneath it, and we have a seating area there. And someone is now in our village is now working on hopefully starting an ice cream shop directly across the little road from it. But it's a very small lot, and he's probably at least immediately not going to have an opportunity to have a sitting area. But we have one right across the way, and so then that's gonna make sure that our space is used and people enjoy using it, and it's gonna help his business by people having a place to go sit and enjoy. And so it keeps snowballing. It's you do a thing, and it's not the Field of Dreams thing. It's everyone's gonna come see our water tower, but it adds to our community.
Right.
And it builds.
You're adding value.
Yeah, and it's a long game for sure.
Now, someone listening from McLean wants to have partake in the community garden. How are you dividing up sections that they get then?
Yeah. So we have we have 10 by 10 and 10 by 20 plots. It's $10 for the year for the smaller plot and $20 a year for the larger one. We also have some raised beds, both kind of the standard low one that in your backyard, and then also some more accessible ones. So if you have mobility issues, you can either stand or be in a wheelchair or whatever, and be able to. It's kind of like a tall, narrow bed, so you can easily reach everything. So we'll have a couple of those. You can just send us an email, core.mclean@gmail.com, and we'll get you. It's me. I'll be the person who will talk to you about getting a plot. And then also, if you want to adopt one of our pots in our square, you can also write to core.mclean@gmail.com, and we'll get that set up. But it's just for residents of the village of McLean. We do have the majority of our plots spoken for, but there is room. Yeah, it's really exciting, and we're also going to have a children's garden. So we've got it all tilled up, but then let kids kind of learn in there. I'm a gardener. I'm a very avid gardener, and I have tons of seeds. And my plan is just take a bunch of extra stuff I have and just kind of throw it around and then let my heart be free of those things, because a children's garden is often destruction. And just let them learn how to grow things and how to weed things and all that kind of stuff. So
that is neat.
Yeah.
That is really neat. What else would you like our listeners to learn and to know about? I know you have the 12th annual the 6.6 run walk
Yeah.
race. So tell us about that.
So it's the Get Your 6.6 on Route 66.
Okay.
I'm old hat at saying that. So the Get Your 6.6 on Route 66, I'm wearing my shirt from the 10th annual, is a run walk that goes on historic Route 66, which is for people who love the route and love history. That's an opportunity itself. Usually you don't get to usually walk on it because it's a road. So we shut down the road on August 23rd, and then you can run or walk from the Funk's Grove Pure Maple Syrup Shop back down to the Village Square, and then we have a party on the square. So there's food and drink, and we'll have music, and we're still figuring out all the details of the activities, but in years past we've even had bingo at it. There's adoptable dogs. Do you know Ruby's Rescue?
Yes.
Yeah, so every year they've brought puppies just for people who can adopt, and they've adopted out dogs on the spot that day from there. But it's so cute. Oh my gosh. They just like, because it's like there's all these kids and all these people, and these dogs are just like, this is heaven. So we love having folks come out just to see those dogs. So it's a really cool opportunity to and I should mention also, the way that it works is that you come down to the village, you park, and then we have buses that take you out to the maple syrup shop. And then out there, you have the option, which most people to take a shot of maple syrup before the run. And then we have, we leave at 8 a.m. It's nice and early because August 23rd is almost reliably hot. So we start bright and early to try to miss most of that. And then, it's been a really popular event. I mean, the first year was 2014. I think I have that right. 2020 was a bit of a skip. We kind of did the virtual thing during COVID. But I mean, we're up to around 200 participants a year.
Oh my goodness!
We have really good food usually from the Dixie. We got a food truck or two, ice cream for sale, all that kind of stuff. It's just a really fun event. We got really nice shirts. We have a new unique design every year. Yeah. This squirrel down here has kind of become our mascot.
Okay.
This year we haven't revealed it quite yet, but this year's theme is a squirrel flying through space because. Yeah. Why not? You get a unique shirt every year, and people just love to find out what the new design is. So the artwork is Grace Springer, who's soon to be my sister-in-law as of July. Congratulations, Johnny and Grace. And she's just a really talented artist, and she'll just come up with a new thing out of her imagination every year. And every year, our volunteers are like, "That's great. Let's roll with it." Cool T-shirt design.
And then registration for that opens up next week.
May 15th, which I think is next Thursday.
Let me look at the calendar. Yes, next Thursday.
Cool. Yeah. So again, go to our website, coreofmclean.org, or follow our Facebook page, which is just Core of McLean again. We're constantly updating our Facebook page with all the new stuff that we're up to, and that we'll be talking about that. And actually, the Run Walk has its own separate page on Facebook called Get Your 6.6 and Route 66, and we'll have an event page set up for that too. So lots of ways to find out about that and get registered.
We have a lot going on. I love it this summer here in our area.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Right, and hopefully we can incorporate the garage sales coming up for the second weekend also too in June. So. Because we're the official headquarters, I got to give a plug out for that. So,
we'd love to work with you on that. We can use our own social media to share all that. Love to.
So, what else would you like to highlight and talk about and tell our listeners at all? Are we pretty much done quite a bit?
I mean, there's a lot of smaller things we do too, and I think I just want to give a shout out to all of our volunteers who work so hard. Like I said, 2023 we had that second round of the mapping meeting, and that kind of brought a lot of new attention to our group, which sometimes was a little dicey. You don't always want a lot of people looking at you, but that also brought a lot of new volunteers in, and that was really nice. Oh, and that's the thing I did want to say was that part of our mission is to invite new residents to McLean. We want new life in our community. We have a nice place to offer people to live. And as part of that, another thing that we've initiated is a welcome wagon, which is really it's a packet that when you go to the village office, you move in, you get registered with the village. Just make sure that you ask for one of those packets, because it's just about local businesses, about what you need to know about trash pickup, recycling, all that kind of stuff. But just make sure that people feel like they are welcome to be in our village.
You're part of the community.
Yeah, yeah. There's room in our village for more folks and more life, and we welcome them. So, if you're thinking about moving to McLean, get in touch with us. We love giving people a chance, or giving ourselves a chance to introduce people to our village and what's great about it. And we know there's a house for sale over there. Have you checked that one out? So always eager to welcome people to McLean. I've felt welcomed.
I mean, you're from Massachusetts, so.
Yeah, and I love it. I mean, it's a nice, quiet, small town. Gosh, it is just really nice to wake up there every morning, I swear.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is great. You have anything else possibly? Jim, you? Well, folks, again, if they want to send you an email, if they have any questions, obviously you got the Facebook page. What is the email for CORE then again?
core.mclean@gmail.com. And our website is coreofmclean.org.
Wonderful. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for coming on. We greatly appreciate it. And folks, the Lord and weather willing, we'll be back next week.
This live video stream is made possible in part by WLCN's live stream technology sponsor, Me Realty, located at 602 Keokuk Street in Lincoln, and online at merealty.com. The preceding program is a presentation of WLCN 96.3 FM and WLCNonline.com.